beautiful people. Welcome back to the Empowered Podcast. Thank you so much for your continued support and enthusiasm. My name is Emily Arth. If you haven't joined me before, I am a psychotherapist, an educator, and a creator. And this is a place where I deliver bite-sized lessons in ways to connect your head and your heart to maximize your opportunity for living the most abundant and fulfilling life possible. So today I am going to be talking to you about unconditional love as well as the practice of forgiveness. The holiday season seems like an auspicious time to discuss these topics. And I myself am currently leaning into forgiveness, especially since I recently moved homes. I'm attempting to adjust and settle while also get to my list of priorities, as Christmas is my all-time favorite. And I will be absolutely blue if I can't at least enjoy my own Christmas tree, or at bare minimum, a set of Christmas lights. I do have some non-negotiable holiday needs. But enough about me. Let's talk about love. In terms of emotional mastery, unconditional love is truly the highest calling. We like to think that others love us unconditionally, or that we love others unconditionally because that's what we're taught we're supposed to do. But the problem is many of us have experienced caretakers who told us that they loved us unconditionally, but they were actually modeling conditional forms of love. And again, this isn't everyone, but many people have had this experience. So this is an example, okay? Like, I'll love you if you do this, or I'll love you if you don't do that. This would be a form of conditional love. I'll support you if you do this, but not if you do that. Also conditional love. So the truth is that conditional love actually results in hurting people. It's a form of control and manipulation. It is often used to induce fear that love will be withheld if we don't perform and please as expected. And as I say this, I don't want you to think that people are loving conditionally on an intentional basis. It's that most people just truly don't understand that the love they're giving is conditional, that maybe they haven't built insight into that yet, or looked at what is required of unconditional love. It takes a huge amount of strength, courage, and forgiveness to love another person unconditionally. It is a choice that requires an abundance of patience, acceptance, and selflessness. So in making this choice, we're called to sacrifice our personal desires and expectations to make room for the other person, their flaws and all. And to top it off, it's a huge test of our faith as well. And there's no guarantee that the love we choose to give will be returned equally or at all. So I'll use an example of parenting. This is what makes parenting such a high calling and such a great responsibility. And because all parents are imperfect, many of us have examples of times when we felt that we were receiving a conditional form of love from our parents, and likely you have some pain around those experiences, that did not feel so good. But again, remembering people are not perfect. So sometimes people are going to love us conditionally, and that is why we need to learn how to forgive. But going back to parenting, you selflessly give your body, your time, your resources, your energy to raise this human being, and to raise them hopefully in a loving, supportive way, but there's no guarantee that that person is going to love you in return. There's no guarantee that that person's going to grow up and turn out to be, whatever kind of person you're hoping they will be. And to be able to give to that extent without expecting something in return is really a divine thing to do. So there's no such thing as unconditional love without forgiveness. Forgiveness is a key ingredient in the recipe for unconditional love. So we must know how to forgive if we're going to transcend the brokenness and imperfection that inherently accompanies this human experience. We also have to understand the difference between forgiveness and enabling negative behavior. A lot of people think that they're being forgiving and truly they're not holding people accountable. So there's a way to forgive someone and also protect yourself from their hurtful behaviors. There's a way to forgive and not allow the negative thing to continue happening. And that is something that we all need to learn how to do. And many of us struggle in doing. So you're not alone if you feel that that's a struggle for you. When we're young, we typically learn about the concept of apology and forgiveness through rudimentary and oversimplified role play. So for example, a little kid takes a toy from another little kid and they make them cry. And then their mother comes over and says, "Say you're sorry to them." And the little kid says, "I'm sorry." And then the other mother comes over and says, "Now say, I forgive you." So that's okay to start there because children that age are simple. The problem is that we often don't actually learn the art of forgiveness. And then we don't outgrow these hollow substitutions for accountability and grace. So we need to move on to beyond just the role play of forgiveness and apology into what does the work of forgiveness and apology look like? Because many times when you are ready to apologize, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is ready to forgive. Because forgiveness, it's not about you. So I mentioned grace. What is grace? Well, by definition, grace is something that we're given for which we've done nothing to receive. Grace is a gift. So when we're talking about, for instance, whether or not you're spiritual, when you hear someone say the grace of God, that means when you're given God's love and acceptance, no matter what you have done. You cannot escape it. Grace is all encompassing. Grace has room for all things. So I mentioned forgiveness is not about you. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about you, right? So it's about giving yourself the gift of peace. It's letting go of anger and confusion and resentment, bitterness, hate, malice in an effort to break this self-inflicting chain that emotionally binds you. There's a Buddhist saying that sounds something like holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So not forgiving is an act of emotional harm toward yourself and sometimes other people. So this holiday season and all year round, I would like you to start paying attention, being mindfully aware of, do I put conditions on the love that I give other people? Do I put conditions on the love that I give myself? Do I tell myself I'll be lovable when I do this? I'll be lovable when I have this much money, when I am no longer having an anger issue, when I am more attentive, when I'm more romantic, when I'm whatever it is. So am I putting conditions on my love? And then for sure asking yourself, what beliefs or expectations need to die in order for me to be free of this? How can I liberate myself of this? How can you guys give yourself the gift of peace this holiday season? So to wrap that up, I actually have a really cool story that happened to me on Thanksgiving. I'm going through some major life transitions this year. 2019 basically decided to change Emily's entire life. And so I was talking to a family member about just some of the grief that I was going through and the difficulty of that. And right after that, this family member was showing me all of these random little metal pieces. They happen to use basically like metal junk to make beautiful art. And so they were just kind of reveling in all of their stuff that they were tinkering around with. And they were rummaging through this little box of all of these little charms and things like that. And this was really out of character for me. Let me just preface, because I do not typically ask for things that aren't mine. Oh, and I forgot, I also have a picture of this. So I'll throw a picture up for you to see too. So they're rummaging around this and I see this little key and I just like instinctively go like, oh, I love that. Can I have that? And she just, I mean, she didn't care. She got it for really cheap. So she was like, sure, you can have it. So it's this lovely key, right? And I see it has a tag on it, but I didn't think the tag had anything written on it. But the key itself has the word peace written on it. So I'm like, what a great gift, right? It's Thanksgiving. I'm focusing on my own peace. I get this gift, this key to peace. And then I turn it over and I get this divine message that says, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might, which was just like the coolest affirmation ever. So again, if you're not spiritual, if you're not religious, it's all good. But I'm a big believer in, paying attention to signs and symbols and messages, and they do come in all kinds of ways. So yes, so thank you. Thank you for showing up for me today. Thank you for listening to the podcast, supporting me, for practicing unconditional love to the best of your ability, and for focusing on forgiveness to contribute to the peace of humanity. I love you all, and I wish you well. I'll talk to you soon.